Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking time to learn more about the Global Restitution Project. This project has been a long time coming. Over the past 20 years, as many of you know, Gertrude, Sgwentu, and I have collaborated to connect Americans and South Africans in order to share resources and promote relationships. This is the first time we have formalized that relationship so that donations could be tax deductible in both countries. Our US-based nonprofit is called the Global Restitution Project. Gertrude's South African nonprofit is Gift of One. The Global Restitution Project exists to restore resources to populations, individuals, and projects who are historically and currently impacted by systems of inequality and colonialism. We are facilitating resource distribution to people who are in a position to redistribute them locally. The GRP seeks to co-create a global network of resource sharing and support. We work directly with Gertrude's organization, Gift of One. Gift of One works in South Africa with individuals and families to change the impact of generational poverty by organizing resources to help them enact their individual visions for their lives. They help keep people accountable to their goals without judgment. They walk in relationship with them. They seek to eliminate the limitations of poverty that often seem impassable. Thank you for joining us. So welcome. I'm Allie, and I'm here with my friend Gertrude. Gertrude, you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Nonzwakazi Gertrude Sgwentu, and I'm 56. I'm going to be 57 in July. It's funny enough, I'm enjoying getting older and older, and it's amazing for me because it gives me the opportunity to eat with confidence what I used to wish I will have. And so now I don't have to ask anyone. And so, yes, I'm the grandmother of two amazing girls, Tetile and Tina. And then I'm also a grandmother of two amazing young men, which will be Semi and Hlogomisa. And I'm married for 34 years in May. I know Ali since 1998. And we were talking earlier about my first visit in America in 2000. And we're talking about Williams College and all of that. So that's, I've been in your country. That's the only thing I always do is not the only thing, I always say, please come visit South Africa. Come see the beautiful people I know in the world. I started maybe about 2 nonprofit organizations, and I co-founded organizations with people. When I said we started it with the family. And that family includes this woman, Ali Maika.
There are a couple parts of the story that we want to share today. We want to share the work that Gertrude and her family has been doing during COVID to make sure that friends and neighbors are fed and taken care of during this time. So we're going to start with that. And then we want to talk a little bit about how the two of us met and some of the work that we did together and some of the Gertrude's other projects that she's embarked on as a nonprofit leader. And then we're going to talk about our new project, which is called the Global Restitution Project, which is the first time we've ever made it possible for money going to Gertrude's organization and her work to be tax deductible from the US. So this is Gertrude's family. And when COVID hit last March and everything closed down, they were all safe and living together and at home. And there were knocks at the door almost every day, people saying, I know it's hard for everybody, but do you have some potatoes? Or do you have some toilet paper? Or do you have any extra masks? And Gertrude and her kids and her husband were like, providing whatever they could, whatever they had of their own food, they were sharing with people. And so one day she and I were talking on the phone, and we said, why don't we actually fundraise in a more formal way, and not really formal, just emailing friends and family, to be able to do this in a more systematic way, so that you're not just giving away the food that you all have.
What has been happening in the years is that Ali and the Michaels, they've been helping us as a family to be strong. And I had an operation in 2012 where I had a spinal operation. And then after that, things started to just not going very well in my health. And so while we were talking, Ali and I, she was getting to understand that when we're helping those people, we're taking from this money that she's sending, that I can be able to continue with my health. And then she's like, why don't we change that? Why don't we? There are people out there that will be able to, that would love to help. Let's make sure you don't take from we call it a medical aid here, a medical aid money. Let's make sure that we don't, while you're helping people, we don't lose, we don't take from another, from your life, that you won't be able to continue going to the doctor.
So this is kind of where it started. And when we started fundraising last March, what Gertrude said was $40 a month will feed one family for that month. And so, it's not everything that a family needs, but Gertrude and Boy put together these packages that include oil and sugar and tea and flour and some soap and some milk. And so that we had a number of people donate, and we were able to feed, I don't even remember how many families, for several months.
We started saying that we'll only have about 30 families. We ended up feeding about 200 families. It's because the other family tells another family, and then you start to hear there's this story and that story, and then you start to find yourself just doing it, And in all these parcels, when we started, we were focusing on just making sure that people have food. And when we visit those people, I remember Ali and Mike being so concerned. At the time you see me with this red, blue scarf there with those ladies, it was right at the heat of the COVID. And they were so concerned that we're so close to people and we're not having a mask. When you're in, you start to see the reality like this. And then so the parcel started to get bigger and bigger, rather than just being food only. We started to notice that people needed soap. They needed sanitary towels. They needed this and this. And then that's how we got. And then we started to get involved. That one, the lady you're seeing smiling there, we had to help her for electricity. So you go in, and then you start to notice there's more problems. And that's now you will see as we go, the parcels start to get added in different ways.
And the whole time I was really nervous. I said, Gertrude, it's like, I don't want you guys to get sick. I don't want you to be exposed to anything. And I also don't want you to just like have people, to have like such a long line of people that you can't accommodate. And then you feel overwhelmed. And she said, basically the line is there. It's like we can say yes or we can say no. So that, and we'll be safe and we'll wear masks, but that's always been a balance. And I was really struck that you would say like, it's not really an option.
There are really times that you can exercise your choices of doing things, but there's times that life just says there's no options but just to do what you do and believe you will be safe. We've learned with these people to use masks, and more other people. We learned because we started doing it, and because we're doing it, and then we can be able to influence. And then as we're influencing the wearing of masks and the sanitizing and other things, distancing, and now we have to be an example of what we're doing. And that got us to help to now to start to say, here's a mask, you can use it. And when you say here's a mask, you bought that mask. And we say this is a sanitizer you have to buy and show that. So I'm just trying to say to you, that's where sometimes you think you got choices and you don't have choices unless you participate on making that choice or highlighting the highlight or maybe introducing to someone's mind that you got a choice to put a mask. You can help yourself, but then you have to an example of that. It's how we got to embark on buying sanitizers and masks.
So this was Christmas. You did something different at Christmas time.
We were so happy to cross our families. Crossed all of us did not get killed by COVID or in any way. So we needed to make sure that we can make decent meals. So these decent meals, we made it here in our kitchen, and we then take it to people. And it was chaos because it was 200 families. And we did this for the whole week. And so everyone in the family was participating. Not like you have to, but it gives you so much joy when you see in people's faces. You know, that's where the payment is. That's where you got paid. When you see the joy in people's faces and be able to see that woman looking at her child receiving food and the joy in that child's face. When you start to embark in this, I don't know if you can call it a career, is there's no turning back. There's really no turning back. If you're looking at my husband carrying that bag, he was looking amazing, a handsome man. And then he's got gray hair, still doing the same thing. So that's what I'm trying to say. You just get so much involved and you don't look at how you look, how much you have. When I say help, I feel like I'm talking from the ego, because I'm just a channel on people that are helping. People that are really helping here are the people like yourselves, people that take from their money and give. So I'm just channeling.
Makulu, I feel comfortable speaking for everybody that we are, for the people who supported this project, we're so grateful for you. But it took very little effort for us to send money, and so much effort on your part to scout, wholesale goods, make it cheap enough to put together parcels, to deliver it. So I appreciate you saying that you're a channel. I appreciate it. And I also just want to say it's such a gift to us to be able to figure out ways that we can support efforts like yours. And it's just like the effort is all you and your family.
Thank you. So this now we were cooking for the families that at the time when there was banning, their homes, the other families were banned, and their families, they couldn't be part of the Christmas. So we were running around. Everybody and in the family had to be involved. If you see me gorgeous there with a little dress, it's not a dress, it's a nightie. I woke up so early and I found myself till 2:00 because my husband and Tanya had to make sure that they deliver the meals not later than 3:00 because of the queues. So people will be queuing till about 6. And there's no electricity, so we must make sure that while the sun is still there, they can be able to get their food. This one was big. This one was huge. This was a township that is not. These townships, I just want to give you a little bit of a script. These townships are close to amazing, beautiful homes, very expensive homes. So this township is squashed in a little corner where all around it is all these big homes with big walls and all of that. And it burned so badly. Here we didn't have we've used so much funds of the last fundraising. Here we didn't have much funds. So you can see the difference. When you see the bread, the slices of bread, that's breakfast. So to save petrol or gasoline, you try sometimes to deliver only twice a day. So you're going to squash breakfast. Therefore, in the whole morning, they didn't eat. You're going to squash the breakfast and deliver that with their dinner. There's no lunch. So it's breakfast. So they will going to use the bread as their lunch. And then when you deliver the food in the afternoon, they're going to use that as their dinner. When it's 200 families, it becomes very tricky. So this one is these families, their homes just burn, and there's babies in that. You'll see there's tins for milk for the children, for the babies, and also there's also diapers. You will see the diapers, and here these are mostly sanitary for women. You'll see pads. You can see young men. If you look at these parcels, you can see it's different for men and for women. And when I say young men, there's older men as well, and there's also older women. You have to think and you have to be there in order to be able to come up with these parcels. You have to literally go and see those people.
I mean, this is what you all have been doing this year during COVID. It's like,
Yes.
in addition to your surgery, it's been like a full-time job for you all to be putting these things together. It's not unfamiliar to me. It feels like exactly the same kind of things that you were doing when I met you. These are some pictures. We met in 1998, and then, you know, we interacted more than this, but this is kind of a timeline from when we were babies.
I'm in America right there.
Here you are in America. Here we are, old ladies over here. And the first day we met, you said, I'm looking for somebody to write my story. And I was like, well, I know how to write. I don't have anything to say, but I know how to write. And you said, well, I have a lot to say, so I need you to write my story. And that's basically how we started our relationship. And but then in the course of the time that we've known each other, I just have marveled at how, no matter how much you have or how little you have, you always give money, presents, used clothing, food. You always find ways to provide for other people. When we first met, you didn't have a lot of material things, and you were constantly giving away what you had. And so, you know, for me as a middle-class American, it was like, are you kidding? Like, everything you had seemed to be stuff that you were willing to share. And so I'm just curious if you could talk about where that comes from for you.
At this age, it's very unique age for me. I didn't own a panty. That was my favorite blue dress. That was actually just my dress that I could say it's my dress. But that dress was worn by a couple of children around in our area. You were taught not to really believe on owning something. But here's the thing. My grandfather had 15 children, my mother being the first child. My grandfather was a chief. If it was not because of the colonization, he would have been a chief in his kingdom. So when you talk to him, you had this respect. We were raised in a way that we come from this background of these kingdoms where we come from. And he will tell me this. He will ask me at times, do you think I am poor? And of course, I got a chance to tell him off. I'll tell him, yes, I'm poor. You are poor. I got one dress. I don't have shoes. I see other children sometimes have shoes. I don't own panty, and we're starving. And he will really listen. And he will really listen to me. And my grandfather will say to me, I need you to know this. I am not poor. I'm actually wealthy. He will explain what is different between wealth and being rich, and what is poverty. And he will tell me the people that he was working for, a wealthy, rich family, well-known. And then he will say, they are actually very poor people. They do that for this family that I'm working for, they are very poor. And he will say, what I'm doing now to you, I'm investing in you. And this investment will go to so many, many people. And you will not feel when you give it. You will be able to share it. You will share with the person, even if it's just in a little corner of the street, whether that person is where, it will just come out easily. Whereas when you are rich, you can't how much you must stay behind. It comes from what you have in your hand. And sometimes when you're rich, you can be bankrupt. But what I'm doing now to you, you will spread it among so many people, and you will never remember who they are, and you will not care. because you will know you did what you can at the time that you can do it. And you will be able to do it even if you one day you become, you can't walk, you will be able to do it. So I am sharing my wealth with you. And I know for a fact that you will share it with so many people. And they will, those that choose to benefit will benefit. And those that choose to keep this so that they can be able to share it will share it. And when they do that, they would not have any ego of what they have done. So this is always a foundation of where I come from. And my grandfather will always say, one thing you must always remember, as a wealthy person, never eat too full. Because when you eat too full, your tummy is full. You can't hear nature talking to you. And the best lessons and conversations you can ever have is from nature. So always open a space to hear from nature, because when you hear from nature, you can hear the people's heartbeat.
Makulu, the two things you've taught me about wealth that I really value are one is that if you always give money away, then you'll never be poor. And the way I understood it was, if you live in a community where everybody's helping each other, then you know if there's a time that you need help, somebody's going to help you. And if you live in a community where everybody keeps to themselves and you keep your own money and you don't share it when other people have need, then there's fear that you have to keep your money because nobody's going to help you when you need it. And so that's always stuck with me. And then the other thing you taught me was that giving money away is something you have to practice. So you said, let's say you have 2 cents. You only have 2 cents. You give away 1 cent. You don't wait until you're incredibly wealthy and then you give your money away, because by then you won't have, that's not a relationship you'll have to money. When you have very little, you practice giving it away. And as you get more, you give more away. But, then by the time you have lots to give away, you have a muscle for giving money away, for letting it go, for not feeling like this is all mine. And that's been really influential in my life, those 2 lessons.
Firstly, if you keep money to yourself, if you keep what you have to yourself, you are already robbed. You have given into fear of like not having enough money, not having this and this. Once you start to believe this is mine, ego kicks in, and ego is your worst nightmare. Whenever I feel there's something stuck, I will go first to my clothes, because I can't say I'll go to my purse. Like normally my purse has no money. So I will go to my clothes and I'll say, how much clothes do I have here? How many things do I have? And then I start to give it to people. And I will immediately identify those people, or people will show up in my life that needs those clothes. So it's the same. And if you're looking at those clothes, that is money. That is the energy that is stuck in your life. You keep on believing you own energy. You keep on believing that you're in control. You keep on believing that if you save so much, and please don't hear me wrong. Please go and save money, but check how is that saving? How is it controlling your life? Allow money to flow so it keeps on rolling. Allow yourself to be that fountain, that vessel, that things keep on moving around you. So yes, Ali, money can be an enemy to people that believe they have to control money. Sharing, you don't have to have thousands to share. You don't have to wait for thousands. You might never have thousands. You might never. And the more you're waiting for those millions, for those zeros, the more you're suppressing who you are. You are not wealthy because you are good on saving. You are wealthy because of who you are.
I wanted to take people through a couple of the things that happened early on in your career and in our relationship. So I'm just going to run through some pictures and stories, and just interrupt me, Makulu, if you want to comment. So these are These are Gertrude's 3 children. And then this is us. This was when I first met Gertrude in 98. And then here we are just in 2020 in January when we were in South Africa, right? But when we were free before COVID hit. This is the organization SAFE, this Organization for South African Female Empowerment that we started together in 1998. And this organization really was a way of formalizing within South Africa the work that Gertrude was doing, which was, it was so multifaceted that there was rape counseling, there was supporting women to go to the police to get rape kits, there was micro lending, and you can see Mam Haimbi and Mama Gaba here at the top, who we would drive to the wholesale fruit place and veg place so that they could start this small business where they were selling fruit and veg in their town. So these 2 women I met when in 1998, Gertrude had already been working with Mam Haimbi here on the right for years to support her after her husband had been killed. He was a security guard on a white-owned farm, and he had been killed in doing his job protecting the farm. And he and his family lived on the farm in a house. And after he died protecting the farm, they kicked Mam Haimbi and her family out of the farm and out of their housing. And so they moved into this area, which is called Rabo, this is a picture of Rabo. And she started this fruit and veg business and with Gertrude and Boy's help. And so this is Mike and me with Mam Haimbi and Mama Gaba in 2008. No, maybe 2003. And I don't know if you can tell, but they moved from having essentially a shack that was built with corrugated iron and very thin walls to having a solid house behind them. Then this is the fruit stand that they had built that turned into a kind of a what they call a tuck shop, so snacks for the kids at the local school. So this is 1998. This is 2003. And then this is when we went back in 2020. This was her house. And so it was enormous. And I shouldn't say enormous. It was at least 4 times bigger than the shack that she lived in when I first met her. And so she had a very successful business. This is one of the newspaper articles that was written about the work that SAFE did in terms of doing like educational programming for people. And what I really appreciated about you is you would go to a conference and then you'd say, now we have to teach everybody what we learned at the conference. And I would think, well, we don't know we're not experts. We just heard what they said at the conference. And you were like, we now have knowledge that other people don't have. So we have to spread it. And so then you would put on these events and bring people in, but then sometimes just teach, like, I just went to a conference. This is what I learned. And so it was really, to me, it was amazing because there was no piece of anything that you would be given that you wouldn't then try to disperse and share with people who didn't have it. And then we would do protests as well. This was a protest that we did at the Capitol. And then you did this brick building project as well. And didn't you say one of the women involved in this project?
She's running an office. Jacqueline, you remember? She's now running an office in the government, local government.
So I mean, a lot can happen. A lot can happen after, when you invest in community. So, and then the other project that I want to talk about is the Angel and Starfish Educare Center that Gertrude started for the residents of Mandela Park, which is right next door to where Gertrude and her family live, which she helped form and then helped fundraise for and created this daycare in a community where there wasn't one before. These are some pictures of the daycare that is still, it's a nursery school and that is still functioning today. So the last thing I want to do is just share some pictures. So this is 2003 when Mike and I were living in South Africa for that year with the Sgwentu kids when they were teens. This is our commitment ceremony in 2008 with Boy and Gertrude. Here we are, 2010, after Tina was born. Gertrude and Boy gave Tina her middle name, which is Nontando, which means the long-awaited one. And Gertrude was outraged when I told her I wasn't planning to have children. So when I told her that we were going to have a baby, she said, we have a name for you. And it's Tina's middle name. So she's Tina Nontando. This is all of us there together on that visit. This is Sita Tile down here at the bottom. She's our goddaughter. She's Evelyn's daughter. And here's when Gertrude and Sititile and Tatamkulu boy came in 2019. The winter of 2019, they came to Philadelphia. And then here we are. And then we were there just in 2020, right before COVID hit. We were there in December 2019 and January. And that's all of us together. Kulu, we didn't tell the story of our first connecting when I first came to your house. And I feel like that's an important story because all of this history takes place within post-apartheid South Africa. So apartheid ended officially in 1990. Nelson Mandela became president in 1994. And then I came to South Africa. This was not as important as the first two events, but then in 1998. So I came 4 years after Nelson Mandela became president. So it was like, I remember really feeling like, oh God, like I'm flying into history. Like I live in this place where history is in the past, but in South Africa, history is happening. And when we met and I came to your house, I mean, for me, it was really big as a white American. I was really outraged by the South African apartheid laws, and I was outraged by U.S. Jim Crow laws. But I thought of racism in the U.S. as something in the past, which now I understand that I had a lot to learn. But in South Africa, I could still see the segregation, and I felt so honored to be invited into your life. And then I came to your house to spend the weekend. Should I tell this story or should you tell
Yes,
this?
please.
And you guys were so, it was a little bit mysterious because you were like, oh, your kid, Tanya would like bring the mugs for tea and be like, is it okay if you drink out of this mug? And I'd be like, yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to drink tea out of that. You're like, you're sure you're okay drinking out of this mug? And I'm like, yep, that looks like a good mug. And then I'd have to go to the bathroom and you'd be like, we only have one bathroom. I'm like, I only need one bathroom. You're like, we only have one toilet. I'm like, that's all it takes, really, And
I think it was the worst one was when she had to a bath and with only one bath, no shower. So we're this only bath and I'm thinking like, how are we going to deal with a white woman in our house? Because it was segregation. So no white mixed with a black person. So there comes Ellie. We're talking. We're so excited. She's coming to visit us. Yes, of course, come. And reality kicks in. And that she's white. We're talking so nice, but she's white. What am I going to do with this? And now I look at the walls in the room she's going to use. Now we squash the children to one room. They already happy with this. So now what are we going to do with this room? My gosh, a white person cannot sleep in a room with the walls that are not really painted nicely. So we quickly go and take a paint on credit. I take a paint, my husband is at work. So when he comes back, I say, you must paint this quickly because Ali is coming. So we're painting this, we're so excited, but we're making sure that she's going to feel as comfortable as she can be as a white person. So it's going to look beautiful. And we quickly gave the children training, when you see her moving this side, give her this cup. When you see her put these spoons on this side, these ones will be for her and this one will be for us. And then after a while, I noticed she doesn't understand what we're doing. So we were just discriminating against Ellie in our own house.
It's so funny and it's so sad all at the same time. It's just so sad. And it was so powerful to live together and to I don't think you told me until weeks later
Yes.
What was even happening? I had no idea what was happening. And then
Yeah.
the room smelled so much like paint. Nobody could sleep in there.
Yeah,
So
all
then I'm
of that.
looking
And
at
now
it
she
in
ended
your
up
bed.
to squash with the children in that room. Now in the dirty room. She had to go and sleep there, and then they have to move this one. Nobody could sleep in the room. That alone, I always say, I wish we can have some small movie and go back to that day so people can see how a disease of racism is the most virus disease that you can see. The mother of diseases is on race. We can think we can get rid of all the others. I think we should work on getting rid of that disease.
You know, it took us so much time living with you and being so outraged about the laws of apartheid and so outraged at how white people didn't understand that they had a legacy of apartheid that they needed to account for. You know, I mean, just seeing South Africa through your eyes and through your family's eyes, and then hearing white people say like, "Oh, it's in the past." You know,
Yeah.
let's just like move forward. And I'm like, wait, it was like 4 years ago. Are you
Yeah.
really? We're going to move forward? But then slowly I realized, but you know, in the US, I'm a white person. And it wasn't 4 years ago, but it was recent. And we still have a legacy to account for. And that, for me, that was really the foundation of all the work that I do today, is trying to be accountable for the legacy of American apartheid in my own life. And so I've just been so grateful for our friendship. And just because, I mean, that alone, that family that we've formed, and the stuff that I have learned from you is like that, it's worth doing anything for.
When I said to Ellie, I don't believe anyone will listen to my story, you know, to what I want to say. I want to share it, but I don't believe they could. They will. And she said, of course they will love to. And I'm like, oh, okay. And even what we were doing, you know, my husband and I, we didn't think it was worth of anyone giving money to.
We have just formed this nonprofit called the Global Restitution Project. And for the first time, we're going to be able to collect donations to the work that Gertrude's doing in a way that is tax deductible in the United States. And our hope is that we'll actually be able to support other small local projects in other places as well. What's always been amazing is that, you know, Gertrude's work has been largely informal, and it almost was by necessity informal, because this whole time you've been, you know, going with social workers to the townships to translate for people, to make sure people get services, and to make sure that the social workers know what the culturally relevant way of intervening with a person might be. And what was always striking was that people wouldn't hire you to be the social worker. Because Gertrude didn't have a degree in social work, she couldn't get the job as the social worker, which came with a car and petrol and a salary. But there were young, you know, 20-something white social workers from the suburbs who had their degree, but they couldn't speak Xhosa. And they'd never been to the townships before. They didn't know how to support people who were victims of domestic abuse, or who were survivors of rape, or who needed food. And there was a way for you, Gertrude, that you just did it that was so easy and so fluid. But for some reason, because of the way the structures of institutions, including nonprofits, work, it never led to work for you. It just led to work, but not compensated work. Yeah. And in some ways, our work has been the same, that, you know, I can informally collect money here and send it to South Africa, but I pay tax on it and you pay tax on it. And it's always been informal that way. But now we have this project, which is going to make it possible for anybody who gives us donations to have it be tax deductible. And then when I send it to you through your nonprofit, which is called Gift of One, you will not have to pay tax on it. So it's just an exciting new development in our relationship and in the
Took so many years to get there.
I know. I don't know why it took so long. but so that's, you know, part of why we wanted to do this today, was to announce that new development, which we're really excited about. For people who want to contribute to Gertrude, You can write the check to the Global Restitution Project and you can send it to me, or you can even give money through Venmo and just mark it through the Global Restitution Project. And I'll make sure that the money gets to Gift of One to Gertrude. Tanya, do you want to talk about how it's been for you to be involved in all of these efforts that your parents embark on?
It's been an interesting journey, I think. It was second nature. It's what we grew up doing. It was the third arm. You never thought about it. You just knew that you just assumed position. And, as we eat on the table, you always dish extra. That's how normal it was. And it's still very much so. I mean, you were reminiscing about going to a conference and then coming back and teaching as many women as we could fit into any room. Sometimes we had a hall, sometimes we had just an office space or whatever the size of the room was. And I remember my mother, Evelyn and I, we got to take dance classes. Modern dancing and tap dancing. And she would, for every one class we took, teaching children in Luandle and Nomzamo how to tap dance. So,
and they'll say, no, but we can't. I said, yes, you can. You're going to have to. And so they were being taught, and then they come straight to go and teach other children. I said, but if you could do it there, then you're going to teach them how to do it.
And now as an adult, and also now as a mother and an aunt and an active citizen, it's just, you realize that gift of one. I think mom just one day woke up and she's like, oh, I love the sound of the gift of one. And she stuck it and it became her email address. And when she was brainstorming with Al about what to name the organization, formalizing the journey, the gift of one stuck. And just understanding the gift of one, whether it is one monetary value, so whether it's R1, $1, whether it's you taking a minute to share one loaf of bread, 1 ear, listening, that moment of just taking the opportunity, because you saying, I have the opportunity. I have more than one in my hand. Therefore, I can split that and, to break it into two. Now we've got two pieces, and if literally the next person does the same thing, just that gift of one, the next person does the same thing. As you've been repeating, you're feeding a community, moving mountains. You're literally moving mountains. I just wish everybody could carry that seed within them. We would be in such a better place. We would really, and you can't get tired of singing that song. The gift of one.
Yeah, and it's whose gift is that? Is that my gift? It's all of us' gift. Your gift is my gift. My gift is your gift. So we're talking now about all of us' gift coming together and understanding it's not yours. It's a gift of one. It's your. You all, as these women here, you're helping each other. We're coming together. It's a gift of one. I don't know how to explain it. It's through Ali's gift, I got to be talking to you guys today. Through Jacqueline's gift, Ali's being able to communicate. Do you see what I mean? It's just like it's a gift of one, and who's that person is you and the next door and the other one and the other one. It's all of us' gift. Mm-hmm. It's not my gift. It's a gift of one. You. One person's gift is all our gift. And when we put that together, it becomes one gift. And that gift can be able to flow.